The following program contains views that are not those of WVTC, iNetworks Communications, their subsidiaries, affiliates, or financial supporters.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
It's usually down payment, credit. Those are the main two things.
$75,000 SUVs. I have no idea what. There you go.
Hey, Brian Sewell here, the Mortgage Doctor, with you every week. I am glad to be here. I hope you guys are doing great. Hopefully you saw that little teaser we gave. We're just I'm fixing some technology that I didn't have together. So I got a couple of people here with me. The great Dave Weiner, real estate extraordinaire. I'm going to mess up every English word in there, but I'll get you math-wise, okay? All right. Yeah, and I'm sitting here. Who did you bring? Who's your guest? James Adams, right?
It's James Adams, home inspector.
James, what do you do for a living? Well, thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for
spoiler. Sorry.
I appreciate it. James, what do you do for a living?
I'm a home inspector.
Okay, great. So look, we're going to have some fun on this show. The purpose of this show is to help every single person that wants to accomplish the American dream of homeownership. Now, I believe you do that through, I call it our 3 E's. We do it through education, encouragement, and empowerment. You get educated so you know the right things to do when you buy a home. Encouragement, because so many people are just like discouraged from buying it because of different reasons we'll talk about. And then the empowerment helps you to make that decision and move forward. So we want to show you how to build wealth through home ownership. Is one vehicle you can use to do that. I bring on Dave on here. I've known Dave for a few years now. He is a really good agent. And he brings a perspective, I think, that's a little different than some agents. So, Dave, why don't you give our viewers that haven't seen you in a while a little bit of background on you?
Sure. Been doing this just about 20 years. 20 years in April will be the exact time. And we all say we get in to help people, but I truly believe that that's kind of our job, where we work for the public, with the public. And so people look to us as professionals. So all of us, right? Everybody. They hire us. They're technically our boss, but we're the professionals. We're the experts in our field. They don't really know what they're doing. So it's up to us to give them the best expertise and the best advice so they can make the right decisions for their life.
Yep. I think you did. Did you rehearse that? You kind of rhyme rolling with that too.
I might have said it before in my life.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I believe it. So
Dave's a good guy, guys.
So,
So James, a little bit of background on you. This is my first time meeting. I know we worked on a couple of deals together. I've seen your name around before.
Right. The person that we met through,
right.
Anthony Harris.
Right. He used him.
Right.
But I've seen his name around before, though.
Sure.
So I'm 22, 23 years in the business. He's definitely not a rookie. At least I don't think he is. How long have you been doing it? 2 years?
Started a week ago.
Yeah, right. That's what I tell everybody.
Inspections.
No, so I've been at this for quite a while before the pandemic started.
Okay.
So pre-pandemic.
Need some help? Want to use the fingers? No, go ahead. I'm sorry. We don't know each other. Dave didn't tell you what you're getting into, right?
Don't worry.
Yeah. So before that, I actually didn't have any background in real estate or anything like that. So it took me a while to get my feet on the ground and rolling.
Right. Okay. That's cool. So
I've worked with them.
I've
seen them in person. Now I'm there for the inspection.
Yeah.
I trail the inspector. He could tell you, I trail the inspector. I ask 100 questions, even if I kind of know the answers. I don't know what they know, so I want to make sure. So he knows what he's doing.
So I
Because I
mean,
would tell you.
and we're gonna take the show a couple different ways, but just from a homeownership perspective, right? It's so important that you get a home inspector. So many times I get calls and clients say, "Well, I'm getting an appraiser. It's an FHA appraiser. They'll catch that." And I always tell them get a home inspection. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so you
You've heard that
always,
before.
yeah, I hear it a lot. Like we weren't gonna do a home inspection, but I have went to brand new construction, like finished maybe a week ago, and found over 150 defects.
Wow.
Brand new construction is
Brand new.
possibly the worst in
Yeah.
a lot of those ways.
Wow.
Because they know it. They know they're giving you a 1-year warranty.
Yep.
So they're just going to be like, you know what? I'm going to leave all this for a punch list. Whatever they catch is what I'll fix. And whatever they don't catch, not my problem.
Yeah, that's a whole different segment because I work with a lot of builders. There are some
Right.
builders that, you know, they kind of
Right, not all of them,
Yeah,
right,
there's some
but-
builders that right, you know, they're right by the book. So you're right.
They know what they're doing. They don't, you know, they're like, I don't have time to finish all this.
So give us a little bit of a little insight. You know, elaborate a little bit more on that.
What would you say is the stuff that's missing from a new construction more often that obviously, you know, an older construction might have already been addressed or whatever?
It's more so of quality. Newer buildings, they cut corners because they know the corners to cut. Older buildings is pretty much they went in by the book and did everything that was supposed to be done.
Okay. So you're saying they don't make them like they used to, kind of like cars, right?
They do not make
Yeah.
them like they used to.
Yeah, that's important. So, you know, I would say it's really important you get an inspection. I mean, the thing is, an FHA appraiser is going to be looking for blatant stuff, you know, and they look for safety. So they've been taught and trained that, hey, that's the same thing, taught and trained. Okay, math person, like I said, railings.
Okay, we're here. We got
Railings, right? You know, peeling paint, you know, cracked windows, you know, if a roof is falling apart. Whereas an inspection, you're going to be thoroughly checking this stuff.
Yeah, so they may see a missing shingle or something like that, or a sagging ridge line, but once you go in, there's other things that causes.
Okay.
So
to be clear, FHA inspectors are typically appraisers
they are
first.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they come in, that's their main job. And when they do the bonus of looking for the FHA inspection, to be fair to them, they're not trained like somebody like James.
No.
They don't have the same rigorous licensing and stuff. They have different licensing, but it's not the primary focus of what they're licensed for. Right. So they're looking for those main things that you're saying, main components. You know, is the heat and water working the way it's supposed to? Are there cracked windows? Is there, you know, chipping paint, tripping hazards?
more so they're looking to see if the heat and air conditioning works.
Right. Main components.
We more so look for if
Does
it's
work
working
well.
Right.
If it's working.
Hey, Franklin, can you hit the comment section? I think there's a couple comments that popped in there. I didn't even see it. Make sure we address any questions and stuff like that. Let's see. Hello, Joe. Your screen pretty good. That's why I follow you. What the heck is that? Who the heck is that? Is that for
You
you?
made a friend, man.
Yeah.
That's not.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to read that.
I mean, it's nothing bad in it. It's just weird. So
Yeah, it's a little off a little bit here.
yeah.
I think she's looking at you, Dave. But anyway,
I don't even know if it's a she. You're just presuming, man.
you're right. We are in a different world now. Let's
Different
move on.
world. Yeah, move back to the conversation.
All right. So look.
Somebody else, please time
Yes.
with
Yeah.
hello, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Different segment.
We know it's working.
So that's what happens, Sharifa. What is the average cost? Here we go. There's a question. Thank you.
There it is.
What is the average cost of an inspection?
They range. So typically it goes by square footage, maybe additional bedrooms or additional buildings. So start at around 300 and up.
That's for a standard single family home. Right?
Yes.
So
yes,
condos might
yes.
be a little
Condos
less,
are a little
bigger,
less,
two-flat,
around in the
more,
two-ish,
right.
200.
Okay. Yeah. So because you got more space to inspect.
Yes.
Right.
And
That's
more
why it goes by
and more
square
things
footage.
to inspect.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right. If you got two furnaces or two air
Exactly.
conditionings, that might add a little onto it, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, because more time.
Yeah.
And
What's
you
up,
gotta check
Damon? How you
the
doing?
appliances Typically, right.
Yes.
So
So
that,
when we talk about, I know it's funny.
hey, Damon.
Yeah. When we talk about some of the things that you see that's like crazy, and I'm gonna put you on the spot because you know you're getting this question. Give me the most outrageous thing you've seen in a home inspection.
Oh, hands down. I was first getting started.
We see it, Latrice. We'll get back to you in a second.
I was first getting started in the business. I was actually out with one of my trainers, and there was a crawl space. And we go into the crawl space, and it's a pool of raw sewage just
Tasty.
under the house, blatant.
So a pipe somewhere broke.
Yes, hands down.
The smell had to be ridiculous.
Terrible.
Yeah.
There's rats and roaches.
Did you see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles down there?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
I knew where I was going with that. Huh? I like doing that for Dave. This is more for him.
Yeah, it's true. It's a lot for the right this time.
Yeah, right.
So Latrice had a question. I believe this is toward
towards.
Would you advise the buyer to buy or not buy a home? Which you would, I imagine, right? If you really think.
No, that's actually illegal for me to say.
See how I set them up for that.
So what I would do, what I typically tell my clients is take a look at the inspection report, go over it with your attorney and your realtor to see what are the next steps. Maybe you want to budget something out, and if it's not in your budget, then you go from there.
Right, because those are, you can either, when you're at that stage, right? You've agreed on a contract. You got your 5 business days, which could be extended for, appraisal or inspection, and your attorney to review it. So during that time, pretty much you can cancel for any reason you want. Mm-hmm. You get your inspection, and there's a lot of crazy stuff on there. You can just kill the deal right away, or you can go over what that inspection is, right? And talk with your attorney and your realtor and say, these are what my goals were. This is what my budget was. This is what I think I can do on my own, be it physically myself or in my budget to get somebody else to do it. If that, as James says, if that exceeds what you can properly do, you might need to reassess either that home, go back to the sellers and say, look, we're going to need credits for this. And in some cases, I'm sure, James, there's stuff that no matter who you, even if they don't get an inspection, unless the people are blind and bought it blind, it's going to come up every inspection. So either going to work well, even if it's an as is. As is doesn't always mean what people think it does. It sort of does, but if it's a major component, like you don't have a furnace, how you do with if the lender gets a thing that says there's no furnace?
Yeah, we don't like that.
You're not going to have it either, right? So those are going to be things that kill
There's
off
times we have to do a renovation loan to just make some of that stuff work and bring it up to code.
If they can do it,
right?
Because not everyone qualifies for that,
right? So exactly, that's just a different
The
qualification.
seller and the buyer, under parties, interested stakeholders have to get together on that.
One of the things people get scared of is water. If there's a lot of water damage, you get worried about mold and some of those things. Let's speak on that a little bit.
So pretty much all homes will have some type of seepage. The main thing would be controlling the amount of seepage in there. So water in the house is not always going to be a deal breaker, right? So there are things that are feasible to fix.
What's the source? Is it fixable?
Exactly. But before determining that, I would have a waterproofing contractor come out, or I like to try to identify where these issues are arising, so where this water is coming from.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So one of the crazy ones, not the craziest I've seen, probably not the craziest you've seen, but we did see one. Remember our client, Anthony, before he got, we had previously had a contract on another place. Remember in South Holland?
Yeah, I
remember the crossbars in the basement?
No, yeah.
They had giant iron cross supports holding the wall in the basement. It talk about
what would possess you to do something like that?
Because the house was still valuable. Still, they wanted to keep the house, and it was all documented. They had a lifetime warranty on it. So if anything goes, if they start bending, you just call them, hey, my bar's bent. You need to come fix them out. And they had a contract in it.
There wasn't a way to fix that though, like permanently fix that.
That was the permanent fix.
Otherwise,
the
house had to come down.
Right, you got it. Because how do you fix one wall of your basement without taking the house down off top of it? Yeah. That was the fix.
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy. We're looking at like, this can't be right. Like, who does this?
I'm sure the insurance is pretty high on that house. Had to be.
It was normal because once it's the waterproofing cover, the structural company comes in, they guarantee the work.
Yeah.
So at that point, I mean, again, it's a crazy. I've been here 20 years. That's the only time I've seen that level of dedication to keep
That was the
them.
last time I've seen something
Right.
like that.
But I mean, you talk about some crazy stuff. I mean, we could do a whole show. We could do a week of shows on the crazy stuff.
No,
I've seen.
you're fine. We go.
But it's because he was here. I wanted to share that with him and it was all our clients. So
Well,
yeah.
I want to make sure you guys are participating. If you guys got questions, jump in, share the show.
For any of us.
Yep. Talking to the mortgage doctor, talking to Dave Weiner, Century 21, and James. What's the name of your company?
Domicile Consulting.
Domicile?
Yep.
Okay, cool. How'd you come up with that name?
Well, actually, I work with that company.
Okay, good. All right.
It's like a house.
Again, I'm on the
Right.
spot. I just asked. You guys know,
What's the rates doing this like, Brian?
rates are good. So, the Fed didn't do anything as far as cutting the rates yet, but they
They will.
will. We expect the Feds to cut the rates at least 2 or 3 more times this year. That's at least this anticipation. We've already seen the market start to move. I mean, I locked somebody in today at 6%. I locked somebody in below 6 the other day. Now, again, there's variable things that go on. If I'm going to quote a rate, you got to quote APR. So I'm going to say these variable things. So when we talk about what affects your rate, it's loan size, credit, okay, program. So let's say you're a veteran. A VA automatically gets better rates than most. Okay, credit score affects it because there's a thing called risk-based pricing.
Sure.
Get the boring stuff, right? Risk-based pricing is like
The boring stuff is stuff I get questions on all the time.
Right.
Though, and
Yeah, I know.
I get to refer them to you.
So
because,
I'm going to
you know,
explain this to you. So what risk-based pricing is like, hey, you're at a 740 credit, there's no hit. 720, there's a hit. 700, there's a hit. 680, there's a hit, and so on and so on. FHA doesn't have as much risk-based pricing, and neither does
basically
VA.
has none.
Yeah, well, they do. If
But
you
it's
got a
really-
550 credit score,
Right. Okay.
it's hey, you about to pay. Right. You're not getting 5.75. You're getting 7.5. I mean, whatever. So the point is, your credit does affect the rate that you get and the loan size. So a lot of times, if it's a smaller loan, that rate might be a little higher than someone with a $500,000 loan.
So for folks to maybe put a close parallel to it, when they see like a car ad, right, and it'll say 3% down, but in really tiny print it says for a well-qualified buyer. That's what they mean, right? That's the top rate is for the person with the best credit.
740 and above.
Right.
Right.
So and then after
Right.
that it slides down.
Right.
Like
Well, I don't know
brackets.
what the card. I'm just talking about from a mortgage standpoint.
But
Similar.
It's similar.
Yeah.
It's very similar
Yeah.
process, and people probably see those ads all the time. Most people aren't buying a house every day. They see car ads every day, right? So and it always says that whatever the rate is for a well-qualified buyer, little tiny asterisk, right? Like a little print. You gotta stop the TV and run up there with a magnifying glass and see it. But that's
Right.
what it is.
Right.
So this is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
For them to understand a parallel.
So yeah, so again, pay your credit, pay your bills on time, and that affects your payment. But
Yeah.
So the other thing is that when we talk, somebody Okara asked that how often does the rates change? Well, constantly. So
Every week,
yeah,
theoretically,
weekly. The market can change. It's just not the Fed cutting rates, right?
Something's affected more than others.
100%. But like if something's going on, let's say with that thing going on in Russia, sometimes war has a negative impact on rates, and sometimes war has a positive impact on rates.
For reasons that aren't really necessarily
Right,
obvious to most people.
Right. So we can use September 11th. Rates went down. Okay. Disaster things happen. COVID at first rates went up because everybody's worried about people not going to work.
Right.
And a
But when
lender
it started
standpoint, they're not
to
going to pay
plan,
their mortgage.
They went back
Once
down.
they got the plan, the rates went at a historically low. I don't think we'll ever see rates that low unless we have World War III. So hopefully we never have that.
Well, and post boom when in 2009,
Yes,
rates
were pretty good. Yeah.
So
Or you're talking about fives or something like that. I mean, it's a while ago, so my memory starts to move around a little bit.
well,
now.
those threes. I mean, those
Yeah.
were because we had some pretty intense
Yes.
events happening.
Well, COVID. That was a
That was
big
a
deal.
pretty big deal. Turns
Right.
out most of the world tried not to die at once, so that was great.
Can I lower my mortgage if I purchase a new roof due to the insurance for an FHA loan? Can I lower my mortgage if I purchase a new roof due to the insurance for an FHA loan?
That's a good question.
I don't understand it. So
I think so. They're saying if they get the new roof,
would it increase
the
the value?
insurance would. If the insurance, I mean, first of all, the real question is if they're separating those two things out, right? So if it's the insurance being lower because you got a new roof, which I'm not an insurance agent, we get one of those on, but I'm not an insurance agent. I would say if that's the case, then if your insurance agent says that your rate will go down because you got a new roof, sure. And then if you connect that to people who have their insurance paid with their mortgage, technically your mortgage doesn't go down, right? Because people always lump the taxes and insurance in with mortgage, but your actual the thing they sign up for 30 years never changes.
That's right. So yeah, she
So,
said
but-
social media. Yeah, but she said
Yeah.
FHA loan. Were you talking about getting rid of the mortgage insurance too? Is that part of it? Because part of that too, I think she said part of that is if the value of the home has gone up, she could probably get out of an FHA and go conventional.
Well, but that isn't because of the roof.
Well, no, I know, but
Right.
you kind
So
of put
that's
them
just-
together. Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
FHA, if you refi out of it, especially if the MIP,
Yeah.
that would be
Exactly.
technically again lowering your. So there are different components, so people understand.
Right.
Right?
So that's
The part
so
that you
she's
pay
like
for your
both
actual
of them.
mortgage.
The mortgage insurance. That's what she's going for.
There it
the
is.
mortgage. Yeah.
Right.
So I
See,
give. Yep.
That's one of the things that goes into your mortgage.
Yeah. So an FHA charges you up front 1.75% and a monthly 0.55. So yes.
And conventional is
Zero
PMI,
zero
but it's
upfront
different.
monthly, and PMI on conventional loans are very cheap. You got good credit. I mean, the PMI, the rates are a little higher, but you can turn around and get rid of the PMI. Now, and I'm going to say this just from a lending standpoint, because we're going to talk about debt consolidations. We're going to get into that. We'll get back to our home inspection. You know, he'll bore us a little bit.
Right. He's going to start nodding off on
Yeah,
us.
yeah, exactly. So,
But her question is, what the value should go up, right? And it should.
Yeah, it should. But I don't necessarily think that.
But that's not
that
because
roof
of
is not
those
great.
things.
You're supposed to have a good
The
roof.
value going up versus your mortgage rate, the mortgage price you pay are really not
Right.
connected.
Well, yeah, the mortgage insurance will go away.
So the price you
if
pay
you
per
want to talk
month will go down.
offline, we can talk more about
Yeah.
this. So, but
Definitely send us your information.
yeah,
if you want.
the mortgage insurance will can go away with a refi, but I don't necessarily know the value because you're going to have a roof. So it may make sense to get rid of FHA and go conventional. It depends on where your rate is right now.
Or what the rate is. It really comes out to the
if
rate.
you
right?
purchased your home in the last year, we definitely want to talk to you because rates
Good
will
chance
probably in
the
the
rates go
sevens and
down.
stuff. You're probably going to get
We're
save
going
some
down,
money.
but worth
There's a couple of reasons to refinance, and I'll come back to that. We'll go back to that segment. So we got a special guest on here. We got to get back to. Well, hold on. Before we do that, I think Devon asked us a question.
Yeah, Demond up there said how much is needed for a minimum down payment on a house. That would be. I mean, I know the answer, but
Well, it depends. So I'm going to tell you. So there are programs out there that allow you to do 100% finance, like VA. There are zero down programs, which I mentioned last week. Why I'm not a huge fan of, although my corporate office posted that program on there. Like,
put the pressure on you.
I'm like, you know what? You guys just saw me do a video. Look, it's nothing wrong with the program, but I just don't believe in this market it makes sense. Unless you absolutely like 10% out of the 100% of the people will need it, because unless you're in a very tight bind, there's other programs you can use. Like there's other grants available that you don't have to pay back. We're in a rate, and I'll just summarize what I talked about last week. We're in a lower rate environment, meaning that Uncle Sam or your boy
sliding down.
Alan Green, I want to say Alan Greenspan. Your boy
Alan Greenspan was 1988.
Jerome Powell has basically just announced that he's going to cut rates. Okay, so when those rates come
a
down,
couple times at least.
right, you come down 2 or 3 times, and we're in an election year. Generally, you'll see rates come down. So if I put you in a 7.5% or 7.25%
A month ago.
rate, right? No, right now, if you
Right
do
now,
zero
even?
down, yeah.
Oh, zero down. Yeah.
So if you do, we're getting to that because I want to. So you're getting about a point or half a point lower than that, and you don't have to pay it back. In order to refinance and take advantage of the lower rates as they come down, you would have to pay that grant back. You're not going to be happy with us if we do that. So that's why you got to look at all the terms and all the facts, and we can get it's
Different products are different for
Right.
different people.
I'm just saying in this environment. Now, if we're in a higher rate environment, have at it. And again, it may not make sense all the time because you still might be paying a higher rate. 3% down conventional, 3.5% FHA. We've got some 1% down program. We got that 0% down program. We got VA loans as well. We could talk more about that. But yeah, there are programs that help you to get into a home. Put it like this though, the less you put down, the more your payment. Too.
Right.
So 3.5%, 3%.
So your buying power is affected by
Right.
that.
Yes. And then your cash flow. So what's more important to you? Is the down payment or cash flow?
Right.
Okay. All right.
And that varies by person, right?
Right.
And I always tell people, I tell my clients, at the end of the day, there are people, we've talked about this before, there are people who want to eat steak 3 times a week and they want to buy a new car every 2 years. And there's people who are peanut butter and jelly and they'll ride that one car till it dies. Neither of those people are bad people. They're just different ways to live your life. But if you need that cash flow, I'm a peanut butter and jelly guy. But if you need that cash flow because you want to go on vacation 3 times a year, 5 times a year, that's up to you. There's no wrong way
Are
to
you
live your
taking
life.
vacations 5 times a year?
I haven't taken one vacation in 5 years.
Okay.
I'm
So-
working. I'm not you folks. Like I just go on vacation.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
So look,
I'm going to California next week. I won't be on.
what's for coaching? Yeah, so like we can
Give me a hard time,
yeah,
man.
so we can coach right now, y'all. So look, yeah, thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. We try, make sure you call us. I'm gonna give you our number in a little bit. So what is the average cost of a down payment of a home? It depends. So if you're
Completely
buying
on the house.
right, depending on the price of the home, right?
$200,000 house is much different than a $500,000 house.
Right. So 3% on 500,000 is 15 grand. 3% on 200,000 is 6,000. That does not include closing costs, right?
And some of those products don't go with like the grants you're talking about. You can't get a grant on a $700,000 house necessarily, right?
No.
Those are for people more in need. Well, people don't necessarily understand it. They think a grant is for everybody, and I don't need this much cash. You know, like if I get this $6,000 cash grant or this grant, I can get into this bigger house because I don't have that. No, you can't. You still have to have, you know, X amount down.
Yeah, I mean that it's important that you look at that, and then you look at the overall cost. That's why it's important we do a mortgage plan.
Right.
You know, we do a mortgage plan for you. It makes sense for you. Make sure the numbers make sense.
If they call me, what do I tell
Call me.
them? Have you talked to Brian?
Yeah, you know what I find is the funniest things though.
I love when you call me, but
clients,
I'm going to tell you to talk to Brian first.
So
because
they always call me about real estate questions to buy out, and they call you about the finance questions.
right.
Look, I promise you, I won't hurt you. I love talking to y'all. Call me. Ain't that a song? Call me.
It's a few songs.
Yeah,
but-
okay. Yeah. I'm gonna start singing for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not.
Back to James. James,
How you doing?
I'm good.
you
have any questions?
You got any questions about that? We're crazy.
No,
Yeah, Greg, come on.
no. I love learning, so I like listening to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Well, you're giving a lot of good information too.
Yes, sir.
What would you tell someone? And if they said, "Hey, I want to save the $400 or $500 you're going to charge me to buy this house,"
I know what I'll tell them. I don't want to.
I want to let Mr. James talk to him.
What I would tell them is I have never walked into any type of structure that I feel didn't need a home inspection. You always need a home inspection before you buy a house, and I actually recommend getting a home inspection a year after you buy that.
So you know what to fix, preventive maintenance. Yeah.
And more times it's just me informing the buyer of routine maintenance.
Cool.
I do that as well, and I show them how to work all of their mechanicals and things like that. So you always need a home inspection. Never go into a purchase without a home inspection.
Cool. Let me back that up because I am not a home inspector. I have no.
You don't play one on TV?
No lawyers, no lenders. I know a little bit about all your jobs, but there's a reason why I always tell them I'm not a lawyer, right? Because that's 30 years of watching Law and Order and one semester in high school 35 years ago. I'm not my lawyer. I'm not going to be your lawyer, right?
Right.
So get an inspection, and I tell people if I retired from this tomorrow, I would still use a good lender, I would still use a good agent, and I would still use a home inspector. Even though knowing all the stuff I do, I could probably.
Are you telling me something? Are you retiring tomorrow?
We're the part where I'm on vacations. What do you think I'm retired on?
No,
Good looks, that ain't gonna happen.
You got to face radio.
Face for radio. That's what I'm saying.
So true story. You guys.
So
we
definitely
like to
use an
entertain.
inspector.
We like to entertain too. So I called Dave, and I heard his voicemail a couple times. I heard his voicemail,
I
and
know
that voicemail, I was like, my God,
Everybody
man, you got a radio
Yeah.
voice.
The big
You got a voice for radio.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I was like, dude, that's not you. You don't sound like nothing like him. But anyway,
Day one,
whatever you do it.
loving his voicemail.
Yeah, I'm like,
He's like, who did your voicemail? I'm like, he's like, no. I'm like,
it didn't sound nothing like him. I was like,
hey,
dude.
somebody do that.
Yeah. All right. It's funny. But here, we got some more questions in. How do you get grants to buy a house? Okay, you call us. And I'll tell you the right ones to use. We have a $5,000 grant that you don't have to pay up to $5,000. You do not pay back. Okay. It's basically it's 80% of the AMI or the average medium income. So it depends on the area you're in. It's a conventional product. You can put down as little as 1%, and that grant up to $5,000.
How long do they have to stay there?
You can sell your house. You still have to pay it back. There's no. It's the grant.
It's not even advertised.
It's forgivable right away.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
So
important.
so yeah.
a lot of other products out there are decent products,
That's
but
why
a lot
you
of
don't
times there
see me
is that catch.
promoting those other ones. I mean, we do them. It's
Right.
just to me. I mean, again, if you're in a tight situation, look. First of all, I believe you should prepare to buy a home. Anything you do, it's a big decision you're going to make. But at the same time, you don't want to be in a situation where you're going into that house to fail. If you're paying $1,500, $2,000 a month in rent, stop throwing money away. Get into a home. Okay.
Mhm.
But if you want to prepare, you got some cash to put yourself ready to buy, then let's put you in a home you can build wealth. So it's my opinion. I mean, again, I'm not the right lender for everyone, but I truly believe in long-term success and helping you build wealth long-term, not just throwing you in a house and just saying, "Woohoo, I did it. Let's do 5. Yay, we closed the house."
Whee!
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
The important thing is people need to talk to a good lender who's knowledgeable of a wide array of products.
Yeah.
Because not every product fits
No.
every person. Not
No.
even close. right? And the more knowledgeable you are as the lender, the better off they're going to be because they've got those options of, I don't really think that's the best product for you.
Right.
Right. And that's important. Just as somebody asked, would he tell him not to buy a house or whatever? Because he can't. But I saw it kind of set me up for that. I wanted you to say that. So, but that's important that people come to us for those kinds of advice. And if they can come to you and get like, you know what, even if you qualify for this kind of loan, maybe that's not the best loan for you. But like, oh, but my mom said, well, your mom's not your loan officer.
That's funny.
You know?
No, mama, dad, it's just a
Right.
brother. I mean, it's okay they come with you, but
Right.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Those are some of the funniest calls that I have. It's going over that.
My mom was in real estate in 1984.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Stop
I don't know
it.
what to tell you.
Stop it. You know my jokes come out and I don't know how to censor them. So I'm
You
trying
don't,
to
right.
no, I like,
I
you know,
can't, you can't.
yeah,
It's
I'm just
funny.
like, yeah, it's just gonna come out.
But that's what it is, right? I mean, you get those folks that, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And so
Look,
they need to
listen.
talk to you about getting the right knowledge.
Listen, here's the thing about picking a loan officer or a realtor or a home inspector. And this is what I'm just going to say to you. Look, whether it's me, Dave, or James, right? It matters if you can trust them. And like some people are fast talkers. Clearly, that's not us. Okay. I do talk fast sometimes, but I'm not a fast talker. Okay. So can you tell, if I talk to someone for 5-10 minutes, I know if they're full of crap or if they're being honest with me. Do they have my needs?
Easy
My
language.
I'm not going to cuss.
I just-
Although I can
can't
tell
joke.
Franklin that my Peter side will come out every once in a while. That's what I'll use.
Wow.
Yeah. So every once in a while, I have
And what's this thing you said?
Peter.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't say nothing.
I know.
But
That's
I'll pray for you.
somewhere the 12-year-old that just laughed his butt off.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen,
He said Peter.
look. At the end,
We got
no,
questions.
not that Peter. You crazy?
No, that's why.
Oh my God!
Wow,
I'm like,
He's slow today, man.
we're talking about the biblical Peter. Okay,
Hey,
the cussing sailor.
Latrice has
Okay.
got a question. I'm interested in buying a foreclosed home.
Okay, hold on.
What kind of inspection?
Good job. Good
should be
segment.
done? See
Good
how I
segment.
did- like,
Yeah, you're
I got
good.
you.
All right, cool.
I'll take this back out.
All right.
Yeah. So foreclosed home, always want a full inspection on those. You may be already going in there thinking like I'm gonna rehab the whole thing anyway, but there may be things that are hidden that may become a problem that may cost you more than the house itself being foreclosed.
Yeah. Going
I
through the
agree.
bus, there was a lot of that.
Is there a
People
such
bought
thing as a
house for
partial
30
inspection?
grand.
So I do standalone inspection. So like maybe you need your roof looked at or something like that. Other than that, it should always be a full inspection.
Okay. Hello,
Car's got a
Natalie.
couple of them.
Okay, Carla, you
Is it
bring it up.
difficult to get a second mortgage, like a vacation property, or does it depend on your DTI ratio?
Yes, it depends on your DTI. I don't necessarily think it's difficult. It just depends on it does depend on your debt ratio, but
Depends on what money you got, right?
and
You can afford it, someone will give it to you.
the rates are higher on the second
Investment or
right.
vacation.
exactly. So the thing is, what happened in 2008? Lenders always over prepare for themselves, and I'm not going to give you a long lecture on the lending side, but when all of the houses first started going bad, you had a lot of people with second homes and condos in Florida. They just let their houses go downtown property, just let them go. So with that stuff happening, they prepared for themselves to make sure they were, properly prepared. Keep using the same word when the market changes. So,
Right,
all right.
Can you go back to cars real quick? The one you had up there, please. Exactly. My last lender spoke so fast, I didn't trust it. By the time he was done, he said I'd walk away with $10K if I sold my home.
You mean the realtor and the lender were together then? Because if he's telling you sell your home for 10K,
Right. First
yeah.
of all, any lender, nothing against you, but right, like how would you know the prices?
No,
and
I
stuff?
say talk to your
That's not
attorney
your
and your
job.
and your
Right.
and your
So
realtor.
first of all, if your lender's telling you that, that's a red flag. That's a red flag the size of this room.
Right.
Run away from that. And even if your realtor is saying that, definitely ask for what we call comps, CMA, comparative market analysis. Get the proof in front of you to see what they're basing that on, because they're talking about somebody you just got a loan from. How did they get it? You're not going to sell your house tomorrow for 10 grand unless you did some really good leverage buy or something. So
Right.
definitely talk to somebody about that.
Would it make more
Good
sense
call,
to
by the
save? Yeah, great question. Would it make more sense to save more money for just in case purposes and also the best numerical down payment? So
the down payment will be a percentage more than
right,
specific
yeah, but
number.
no. Go back to that question, please. That's a great question. So while a lender doesn't require you to have reserves unless you're buying a 3 or 4 unit, okay,
Right,
there's
it's an
situations-
investment.
yes, well, it's still you can do it as a primary, but there's reserves requirements on those. I would say yes, you should have reserves. again, it's not a requirement, but if you can properly plan for it, because life will hit you. You know, if I have my Rocky impersonation going, I'm not going to do it. You know, but life hits you. It's going to beat you up.
Life is what happens while you're busy making plans.
Right. So you got to have a little bit of plan for that. I like some of Dave Ramsey's stuff, what he talks about. And we talked a little bit about this last week, is that, you know, I truly believe, like what I do, I give 10% away, save 10%, invest 20%. That's my philosophy. Live off 70. Whatever I do is try to live off 70. Now, again, we can talk about that and we can do a whole segment on that. The 10%.
That's easier for some people than others.
Right. No, it is.
That whole 100%, right?
But no. I get that, but I truly believe, and we can have a nice discussion about this. I believe if you do the first thing, that the rest will take care of itself. I mean, I started this business with a dime in my name. So I will tell you that, like, no parental support, but I truly believe you do those things, because the charity, whether you have the money or not, you can give 10% of your time to do something charitable, and nobody has to worry about it. Yeah. Right. So you could do something and that has a way of coming back to you. Right. So for the purpose of not diving into that too deep. So when he's saying that having the savings part, though, to me, is that properly prepares you for life. And life's going to hit you, and you can plan. Now, again, things are going to hit. Like in our industry last year, realtors and lenders, and I know other people faced it too. Most people had some of their worst years ever. And part of that, you have to be prepared for that. That's why you see they're saying like 56% of loan officers are getting out because of the hit. So being properly prepared for that battle, you know, and putting things ready. And so some of that is just planning, long-term success. I tell clients this all the time, and I learned this in coaching. You know, I don't care if you're making somebody that's making $25 an hour, $50,000 a year, or somebody that's making $200,000 a year. That person making 50 can actually live more financially successful than someone making 200 because of the decisions that they make. You know, whether they decide to buy an investment property with you, you buy a 3-unit, or they put up more money, they say they give that 10% into their investing, that 401k, whatever they're doing, and that's building and compounding interest. And then you have a situation, I deal with a lot of this with new construction. They can borrow, sometimes they borrow money from their 401k for their down payment because they keep putting up. But that's the key. It's long-term wealth compared to all of a sudden you're trying to do this all at once. This is long-term investment. Well, so I didn't mean to go on my little spill there, but yeah.
So we've talked about that before, right? There's a lifestyle choice of people who are property owners. Typically they call them homeowners, but property owners, right? And the numbers might even change. This is kind of an old stat, but like their net worth is like $1 million more in their life than a person who just perpetually rents. Now, it's not because the renter necessarily is living a worse life or spending the money even not as smart as the person, but that's the thing. When you become a property owner, more often than not, more people become more diligent and more responsible about their money. They make better life decisions, not just about their home, right? Not just about their property, but they also start saving for a rainy day fund so that when the furnace goes out, we don't have no furnace for 3 weeks. We were just talking about that, you know, until 2 checks come because we can finally afford it, right?
So I mean, I agree 100% with you, Dave. So the thing is, and thank you, Latrice, for those comments. So when you look at things from a planning perspective, like, and we'll do that next. Well, we got the next. So we'll do a mortgage Tuesday. We'll do a mortgage plan that will show what that looks like. But that's part of it. Just seeing how people eyes brighten up, or they widen up when they see what this looks like. You know, and if we had Devon here, I would have him put up that thing again because it shows you how much the house is worth, right? The mortgage, not the mortgage, but what is it? The MBS Highway, where we show how much your house is worth in 9 years, you know, and you guys have seen me do that number plenty of times. For those that are new on the show,
look back a couple shows. It's on there. It's always
it just basically show you how they go. And I talk about that a lot because it's not talked about enough in our industry. It's not. Most people, they just say that how it typically goes is that, hey, by the way, you know, you qualify for this. Here's your piece of paper. Go find a home. Instead of actually taking the time to do a mortgage plan. I think it's important to do that. Right, no, it's not gonna. It's a sheet. Frankly, it's something that we go.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you good. But no,
that's. You can look at some of the old links though. Because it's in there. We've talked about it before, and other people have talked about it. So,
yeah, home warranty. Sometimes it's not covered under that though.
Yeah.
So,
right, you got to make sure what
they got for insurance.
There's a lot of insurance.
For homeowners insurance,
a lot of warranties that don't cover it. A lot of do. So you got to make sure they all got their own gimmicks. Some cover a roof, some never touch the roof. So.
I mean, you got to play. I mean, look, nobody's perfect about it. It just helps you. And I think that's in any decision you make today. So, you know, it's when you look at going to work every day, if you're going to work, and there is a time in your career or in anything you do that, look, we got to slave and we got to make it happen. We got to make money. Money is part of it. But if that's the only reason you're doing it, you're going to be miserable. Or if you're working in a job that you're struggling. So that's one of the things I was talking to my son about the other day. My son's 18, and I was telling him the importance of he's going to come work with me part time. So it's like, hey, take $500 a month and put it into long-term investment. I said, if you do that, I showed him what that looks like in 20 years. So I said, and the thing about it, David, his name's David. I said, if you have, let's call it $300,000, $400,000, $500,000.
I appreciate you naming your kid after me.
No, it's the other David. But if you have $300,000, $400,000,
but it was a great trick.
Put up, it's easier to go to work. It's saying, okay, I'm not saying you just say give the middle finger and say pound sand, but it just, it's just you do things that you really enjoy, right?
Gives you more flexibility.
Right, gives you more flexibility. Money, if you're a terrible person without money, you're going to be a terrible person with money. But the thing is, it's just a choice. It's a vehicle you can use to help establish stronger wealth and help, and you can give back and help other people. Yeah, we're licensed. I'm licensed. Our company's licensed in 49 states, but I'm licensed in Illinois, Indiana, Arizona, Florida.
Oh, the retirement.
No, wait a minute. It's one more. Georgia. And I can add more licenses. That we've been talking about that.
Which one are you not retired? Which one is what's out of 49? Which one's the one your company's not?
I don't remember.
Hawaii or Alaska or something?
No, we're licensed in Hawaii. I have no idea.
Probably Alaska because 75 people in Alaska.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to visit there one day though.
It's cold.
I know.
Just so you know.
See some of the sled races or whatever.
Sure.
It'd be cool. Yeah, I'll watch it from inside.
Right. I'll watch him on TV. Thanks.
No, I hope this helped out a little bit. Yeah. So depending on where you're looking at, but Latrice, we're always looking to expand and grow. Anything I want to add?
Remember, we started a little late, so we got to.
Oh no, I got a 5:30 though, so we're good.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, that's true. You guys can stay on a little longer.
We'll just keep talking. Don't worry about this.
You guys got me started. So we talked about the wealth part. I mean, that's important. I mean, you guys take a minute to think about that, right? From a savings perspective, what that looks like.
Anything coming up in beside the rates possibly going down
in the market?
I mean, eventually they're going to go down.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Over the summer, we probably should be high fives again, probably, right?
We can't predict, but I think
right,
if they want to,
theoretically.
Literally, I could have gave somebody 5.875 today. They just chose not to pay the extra fee. But here's the deal. So, and it depends. If you're looking to buy right now, and some people are saying, I'm going to wait till the rates come down.
Oh, we didn't get the
that's one. Yeah. It's a good time to buy a house, or should we wait? No, buy. Great, because I was about to go there. Because if you wait, and from a realtor standpoint, from a lender standpoint, what's going to happen is these rates come down. And we haven't done this in a while, so I'm leading the witness. I'm just going to look the other way and ask them. If rates come down and you still have low inventory, does houses go up or down?
Well, I mean, obviously the houses, that's regardless of the rates.
You're being a politician right now.
No,
here,
I'm going to be more definitive.
Yeah.
Regardless of if the rates go down or not. If there's low inventory, the prices aren't going to go down.
Right.
That's how it's going economics.
Yes. Do we
if
have
the rates go down and there's still low inventory, the prices are going to go up.
Listen, here's the deal.
So if you want to buy,
have that education though, so they need.
That's why I was being very definitive.
Okay, cool. So if rates, so we're saying the values are going to go up. I mean, the house is going to go up.
Houses are going to go up. They're not going to. Anybody who's been predicting or hoping for, fingers crossed, that there was going to be some great price dump like in 2008, 2009, that is not going to happen. We did that on one of the other shows. Since like 2000 or since the Second World War.
Yeah, you had a forum for that too.
There's like 70 years of growth. 8 years of loss, and 4 of those were from 2008 to 2012 or whatever, and then like 3 years that were kind of like zero, evened out. Which means 70% of the time. That's a good question. We'll get to that. 70% of the time, or not 70%. Like what is it? Like 90% of the time, the home prices are going to go up. And when you consider only 4 of those years were right after the great crash, that you can talk to the lenders and the banks really reconfigured how they do business. So that's not going to happen again.
No.
So.
Unless
plan the homes going up. If they stay the same,
yeah,
be happy. But they'll probably go up. So every day you're not buying is another day.
Money.
The prices are going to go up. And so even if the rates go down, again, that'll put more pressure on the little bit. Now, that's what we were going to talk about. There is new home construction is going to help out a little bit. We're like 10 years behind on new home construction.
Yep.
We are way behind. That's a conversation for another day. I don't want to get into how whiny they are, but they're kind of whiny. But but new construction is finally going to start helping us out a little bit. So that'll add some inventory that we much need. People like the new shiny things.
Mhm.
You know, no one's butts ever touched this toilet seat before. They love that. No one ever pulled this knob before.
Is that what you think about us doing a new construction deal?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
what it is.
That's not what I think. That's what clients think. They're like, oh my God, everything's new. Like, yeah, but everybody who helped build this house touched everything. So just so you know.
We built a house in 2000 about 8 years ago. That's why I'm giving a hard time. It was, but
So
but we had to
will
fix
help out
stuff.
with it a
We
little
had
bit.
to fix a couple things.
Yeah,
it's
it's again, it depends on your builder. But
we gotta probably redo our shower.
what was that last question? How do you know if you have a good inspector versus a bad one?
I got a question for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be honest, he would know because he's only a good inspector, right?
But
So-
I would say start asking questions. That
Right.
would be the first thing. And a good inspector would, be able to tell you things mostly off the top of his head, or once you get the report, that would be telltale sign there. I remember my first inspection report that I did, trying to gain, clients. I go back to it and I look at it now and I was like, wow, that was terrible.
So look at the source of how you're getting that inspector, right? If it's somebody you know and value and trust their opinion, that's a good start for almost anything, right?
100%.
So, but if you're just, opening up Google pages at this point, I was going to say Yellow pages because I'm old, but if you're just looking that up and you're picking AAA inspections because they got clever and made three A's, and so they're at the top of the thing, you don't know anything about. That doesn't mean they're bad, but if you don't know, ask them if you could see some of their how they do their reports, right? If they don't have 2 pictures in there, they don't have a drone, they don't go up on roofs, they can't get inside of a crawl space, that's a pretty good hint. They're not, even if they're not bad per se at like what they can see, they're going to give you an incomplete picture, right? So you need to know that kind of thing. You need to know somebody, how long have they been doing it can help. But I know people that have been doing it for 30 years that don't know the stuff that I've seen James do, right? So
James completely getting educated. That's
sometimes
important.
right. It's seniority or experience aren't necessarily the same thing, right? So you got to really be willing to ask those questions. That's the real thing. Ask questions when you get your inspection. To the inspection, go to your inspection if you can at all. Definitely make sure your agent's there, but walk around with the inspector. If the inspector doesn't seem like they want to ask you questions or let you ask questions, kind of a red flag. Remember, you're paying for all of our expertise.
100%.
One or another. We work for you. We are on your team. If we do not seem like we want to help you, that should be a red flag for you
100%.
to worry about. Right?
And if you get uncomfortable not answering questions, like it's one thing to say, hey, let me get back to you. It's another thing to say, whatever.
Right.
So,
or kind of blow you off, or like that's not really need to worry about. If you've got a question, you're worried about it, we need to worry about it.
We got the average cost of an inspection earlier. He said start off like 400, right? You want to get this last one in? Get free. Why do they keep saying low inventory? There are homes and maybe not many new ones, and that really needs to happen. I always prefer something new in place reasonable enough to purchase. Why do they keep saying? Because there's not a lot of inventory. I mean, it's not. Yeah.
Right. Affordable housing versus just inventory are connected, but not entirely, right? There's not a lot of $500,000 houses. There's not $200,000. There's just not a lot of inventory, period. Now, am I feeling this bad for the people trying to buy a $500,000 house that they can't live their dream versus 200? To be honest, most of my clients are in 200. People with $500,000 spend. I'll also be your Huckleberry. I'm just saying,
You're such a politician.
Those are different things, right?
Here, let me help.
Remember Jordan? Hold on, Republicans buy shoes too.
Let me do this a different way. Hold on, I'm gonna do my Joe Loston. Look, I don't care if you buying $1 million house, you buying a $200,000 house, a $500 house. No,
and then you can make more of an effort. What was that? More of an effort toward the home set. Oh, sure, right. The more money you've got, obviously, right. Again, it goes back into home affordability and kind of like your choices of how you live your life.
Yeah.
If you want to be house rich and everything else poor,
no.
Buy the $400,000 house and learn to.
Well, it depends on budget.
Build crates together with duct
tape.
It
depends on budget. Sometimes, I'm gonna clap back against you for a second there. It depends on your income bracket because we deal with clients. Clients buying $150,000 house, or clients buying $1 million house. Sometimes it makes more sense if you're in the right budget for that person to buy a $700,000-800,000 house. You got to tax wise. Because Uncle Sam is crooked. So the thing is building your net worth up and how those houses go up in value. Sometimes it makes sense for you to move up because if you make, and I'll just throw this number out there, because I was talking to a client yesterday, and this is a crazy car thing. They had 2 car notes that were like $1,900. It's crazy. Yeah, it was stupid. But anyway, so let's say you make, and I'm going to make this my business owner, you make $300,000-400,000 a year. Uncle Sam's taking half of that. Okay, so. Well, one way of cutting that income, there's 2 ways of doing it. You look at taxable benefits, so you can put up. You have ways of putting up IRAs and investment accounts that lower your taxable income. And there's another thing you could do is you buy a larger house, you can write off the interest that lowers your taxable income while you're in that income bracket. Because otherwise, you're just giving it to Uncle Sam. So there's a situation where it makes sense, and then your net worth grows.
So his next question is, why not buy the land and build on it? 100%.
You can do that, reduce your structural loss. Yeah, but it's cost you more because the cost of building is expensive. Yeah,
right. And the land, like that's a lender thing, right? Where does the land go? Right, like
you can do it. You can do a construction loan. Yeah, no, we can do them. Yeah, we got one going right now. But the thing is,
if I buy land and then I want to put a house on it, that's different
the
than
cost to build is expensive. Yeah,
buys the land and builds the house for me. Right?
Well, it depends how much the builder paid for the land.
A lot of times it depends on the structure of how you work that deal, though.
Right. Well, how much the lot costs?
But still,
if I bought, because here's my new construction.
Where you buying it?
So let's say, like, I'll use Frankfurt as an example. So I had a builder that purchased like 100 lots at like $60,000 each. Okay, most of the lots in that area are going for 150,000 and up. So in that instance, where he had the lots at 60,000, he can, and let's say we're both builders, he can underbid for the cost because he made his money on land.
Sure, he can.
But like if you had to go buy a lot your own and you're not buying in bulk like that, and it's 150,000, then there's no room. I mean, you're going to pay
a construction discount at Home Depot or whatever versus you just walking.
And it's not always like that. Most of them are not getting that deal right now, right? Most of them are
1 2x4
because there's not a lot. But if you find some land and it's cheap and they get the land dirt cheap, that's how they can make up for it.
Right. So it can be a good deal. It just depends.
Right. We get all over the place on this one.
Let's get this.
That is funny.
Once I moved in, I realized all my windows. Huh? He went up on the roof and did what you would think is the right thing, but then he apparently didn't see if any of the windows had broken handles. And probably those cranks, right? Those cranks.
Also, we aren't required to check every single window. It's
right. You should.
Right. It's easy too, but
It's how hard is it to window?
What if the windows are all the way up top? You can't get to them. You gotta get on a ladder.
If you have a ladder, yeah.
And you should have a ladder.
Yeah.
Try to find it. If you got an inspector without a ladder, that's a red flag. Okay, that's a red flag. But yeah,
hey, look,
but that's why. But that goes back to what I'm saying. That's why you follow your inspector around. Because if you see him walking by the window, like, hey, what's with this window? They'll go back if you kind of catch them, right?
Yeah.
Right. They're like, oh yeah, I was gonna get to that. But follow them around, or definitely have your realtor go in.
Sound like he was just doing the bare minimum, didn't check.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And so he might have been a red flag of not a great. You had a not great inspector. Get James next time.
So check this out. I want to thank James and Dave for coming on the show with us. This is fun. We got to do it again. God, it went by super fast. I appreciate all the comments. Everybody is chiming in.
Great comments this week.
Yeah, a lot of them. It was good. A lot of good questions. Cara, I ain't calling you Black Coffee. Yeah.
You just
Franklin, Latrice. There's a couple other guests up there. But no, I appreciate you guys joining in. Make sure you share the show. We will not be back next week, but we'll be back the week after. Okay. If you guys need us for anything, give us a call. You can call me on my office number, or you can text that as well at 630-352-0629, 630-352-0629, or apply online at mytrustprovider.com.
How do you get to James?
Go ahead, James.
My number is 773-341-6357.
Perfect. David? That's the first time I called you David.
Yeah, it's David. 708-990-1166. 708-990-1166.
He's a politician.
I work 9 to 2, 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. Just don't call me before that because I'm probably still.
Yeah, that's him.
He knows it's true, too.
Yeah, that's him.
Right.
Yeah, no.
I sent him a text at like 3 in the morning. Like, what are you doing? He gets back at normal time the next day. Like, what are you texting me at 3:14?
Crazy.
So,
look,
guys, any of us, we all will work for you.
It's a fun show.
It's a great show.
You guys being on, and we'll see. Hopefully, you got some benefits out of this, and be blessed.
We're out.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through